3 countries. 1 week. And not a single mainstream media outlet has combined all 3 into one complete picture. Until now. Before we begin, this is a hypothetical analysis. Strategic speculation based on real data. Not news. But the question we're asking is very real. Before we begin, this is a hypothetical analysis. Strategic speculation based on real data. Not news. But the question we're asking is very real. Imagine this scenario. The US has just issued its harshest ultimatum to Iran in 2 decades. Not sanctions. Not a diplomatic warning. A threshold directive, a red line with a deadline. At the same time, NATO activates an underground bunker network that has long been hidden from the public. And the most powerful aircraft carrier ever built by humanity is sailing in the opposite direction of the crisis. The question is not what happened. The question is, why is everything happening at the same time? In this hypothetical scenario, we imagine Washington issuing what analysts call a threshold directive. Not an ordinary warning. In this scenario, Iran has reached a point that, for years, has been a nightmare for the Pentagon, a 90% uranium stockpile sufficient for several theoretical warheads. And unlike previous crises, this time there is a concrete deadline. 90 days. Iran responds in a way that is, in the logic of deterrence, highly rational. They activate medium-range missile systems in the western region, within direct range of US bases in the Persian Gulf. This is not a reckless escalation. This is language. A language only understood by those operating at this level. The message is simple: we know you know. And you know we know.
About 3 minutes later, the top section separates, releasing smaller re-entry vehicles.
Now, this is the part that makes all defense analysts scratch their heads. In our scenario, as the Iran crisis heats up, the US sends its most advanced aircraft carrier to the Caribbean instead. It doesn't make sense at first glance. Until you look at 3 things at the same time. Panel 1, Venezuela. In the last 12 months, the Caracas government has strengthened military ties with Russia and China. There are reports, unconfirmed, about new logistical facilities on the northern coast. Panel 2, Cuba. The island, just 90 miles from Florida, has quietly increased the frequency of visits by foreign submarines to its ports. Panel 3, China. Beijing is building what are officially called research stations at 3 points in the Caribbean. Military analysts have a different name for them. A single aircraft carrier in the Caribbean is not about Iran. It is about sending a message to 3 actors at once, without firing a single shot. This is called distributed deterrence. And it is the most sophisticated doctrine the Pentagon has designed in the last 30 years. Now we are talking about something that is rarely discussed. Beneath Europe, literally, there is infrastructure designed for one purpose: to ensure NATO can keep fighting even after the enemy's first strike. In our hypothetical scenario, this project, let's call it the Enhanced Underground Command Infrastructure, is finally fully activated. Imagine this: communication systems that cannot be intercepted. Independent energy reserves for 90 days. Full command capacity without a single connection to the public internet. This is not a civilian protection bunker. This is NATO's backup brain, designed to win a war even after Europe's capitals have been destroyed. What is Moscow's response to a scenario like this? In Russian military logic, infrastructure like this is not defensive. It is preparation for a first strike. And it changes every calculation. Let's zoom out. Look at the bigger picture. Let's zoom out. Look at the bigger picture. Russia, on paper, worn down by a prolonged conflict. But one fact remains unchanged: 6,255 nuclear warheads. A number that makes all conventional calculations irrelevant. India, the power most often underestimated. A geographic position that controls the Indian Ocean. And a foreign policy that cannot be bought by either Washington or Beijing. Israel, Pakistan, North Korea, the United Kingdom, France, each with capabilities that make the conflict map extremely complex. This is not the orderly bipolar world of the Cold War. This is an unstable multipolar world. More actors. More weapons. Fewer channels of communication. And that is why a single miscalculation could become a trigger with no undo button. The question that is asked the least, yet is the most important. In a scenario like this, who is most likely to make a mistake? Not the most aggressive one. Not the strongest one. But the one that misreads the signals the most. The history of major world conflicts, from World War I to the Cuban Missile Crisis, almost all began not from the intention to wage war, but from misinterpretation. In our scenario, Iran reads the US ultimatum as a bluff, as it has many times before. But what if this time it is not a bluff? NATO builds bunkers to survive. But Moscow reads them as preparations for an attack. Who is right becomes irrelevant if both start acting based on their own perceptions. And China, observing everything very calmly, is calculating one thing. When will the world's attention become too divided to notice Taiwan? This is a multidimensional game. And the chessboard is moving in 3 places at once. This is a hypothetical scenario. But the principles behind it are real. The doctrine of distributed deterrence is real. NATO bunker infrastructure is real. Iran's uranium reserves are real. China's military expansion in the Caribbean is currently being debated in intelligence circles. What's hypothetical is the combination. What's real is the potential. Wars do not begin with weapons being fired. They begin with a single misunderstanding that no one wants to admit. If you want to understand the world before the world surprises you, subscribe, turn on the bell, and leave one comment. In a scenario like this, who do you think would move first? We read every comment. And the best answers will be discussed in the next video.
Watch me.